I've always known there's something. I quickly became aware of this God who knew me and who wanted a relationship with me.
A lot of the love in this world is conditional, but Jesus is different. He loves you because that's just who Jesus is. He's replaced my anxiety with his unconditional love for me.
Home to me is about family. Family is all about comfort and supporting one another.
No matter what I've done or said, he welcomes us into his family with open arms.
That's really cool. Well, Stephen, it's over to you.
Thanks. Amazing. Thank you so much. Would you welcome up Karina? So, Karina, I think you were a student at Durham.
I was.
So, tell us your kind of Durham stats.
My Durham stats. So, I was at Hillbead. Any Hillbeaders here? Great. I didn't realise it was so far from the geography department, which was where I was studying.
Okay. So, you read geography?
So, I read geography, which is a really useful degree for everything and nothing, I think. But
did you find that quite helpful? How was South Korea the furthest away?
Well, South Korea, I think it probably was. I don't know. South Korea is a long way. It depends how long it takes to fly there. I don't know.
Yeah.
10 hours or something?
I know geography is not just about...
No, geography. We have no idea where anything is if you're a geographer. Is that true? Yeah.
And so, tell us, Karina, so you, while you were at Durham,
yeah,
you started to get a bit of a passion for the nations of the world. How did that happen?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, you come to Durham and get a heart for the nations. It was a group of us actually in our first year, and we thought, actually, in the summer, we all go off and do little different things. Why don't we all go somewhere together? And at that time, nation called, well, it wasn't a nation, a place called Estonia was part of the Soviet Union. And we got an opportunity to take a team of 15 of us to Estonia to help with some aid work, but also to share a bit about our faith. So that was really exciting. Actually, what we did, we asked one of the sports teams if we could use their minibus for a short summer trip. We didn't tell them we were taking the minibus to the Soviet Union. So we drove to Germany, and then a crane picked up the minibus, put it on this ship, and we ended up in Estonia.
Wow. And in 1990...
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Most of you probably weren't born. It was August 1991, which was a historic time, and you know, the relevance to today and what's happening in Ukraine, which is, I know, breaking all our hearts. But we arrived in Estonia, that was part of the Soviet Union, in August 1991, and we met these wonderful people who had really been oppressed for 50 years. And while we were there on that trip, the tanks rolled in from Russia. We all prayed like anything through the night. The tanks rolled away, and Estonia declared independence after 50 years of Soviet rule. So just amazing to be there and witness that people experiencing freedom and celebrating with them.
And maybe we should just take a moment. I know people from all different sorts of backgrounds here, but maybe we'll just have like 20 seconds of quiet. And in whatever way is helpful to you, if it's prayer, if it's just pleasant thoughts, if it's just remembering people of Ukraine. I think it's just good tonight with all that's going on, just to remember the people of Ukraine, just for 20 seconds. Okay. So thank you everyone for being up for going there. So you come back to the UK, and what happens next? What does that passion become?
Yeah, I came back to the UK and was really thinking, well, there's two options, isn't there? Is to go to London and try and get a well-paid job, or to do something maybe a bit more exciting. So at Durham, I'd met my husband, Adam, who's here. He was from Castle. I rescued him from the tower and married him. And... actually, we fell in love on that trip to Estonia, so I recommend taking whoever you really like on a trip in the summer. After that, we moved to Derby for a couple of years to learn about working amongst people from less privileged backgrounds. And then we got the opportunity to go back to Estonia and to help with an emerging work amongst young people as Estonia was changing, becoming free after 50 years of communist rule. So we spent a few years in Estonia, which was great, had our first baby, and then came back to the UK and was feeling a little bit like, well, what next now? What do we want to invest the rest of our lives in? And we were thinking about going overseas again. And about that time, it was around 2000, 2002, suddenly we realized into our city, into Derby, were people arriving from Afghanistan, Iraq, all different nations that were experiencing war, and people were fleeing. I mean, refugees are people that have had to leave their homes. They don't choose to leave their homes, but they're forced out of the places they live and find themselves in our towns and cities, disconnected from their families and friends. So we weren't sure what we could do, but we thought, well, the Bible says we're meant to welcome the foreigner, welcome the stranger. So we didn't quite know what to do. But at that time, our children were making Christmas boxes to send overseas. So we thought, well, maybe we could take some of these boxes to some of the families that have arrived. So kind of fear and trembling, we did that. We knocked on some doors of some families. We'd asked if we could visit. And we got this amazing welcome into their homes. And they said things like, we've been here for 3 months. We don't know anyone in the city. We feel so alone. We're missing our families. And at that point, we realized we don't actually have to do much. We just have to go and welcome people and make them feel like we care that they're here and that we can, So we didn't do very much. We took a box of toys and gifts. But from that, we made so many friends and relationships with refugees who had arrived here.
And it's an amazing thing, really, because I was thinking today in the context of, that there might be a lot of refugees from Ukraine. And it's a really interesting thing that Jesus, the moment he was born, his life was in danger.
That's right.
And his family had to flee into Egypt as refugees, essentially. And I think it's quite interesting that, how has your faith kind of influenced that decision to come alongside people who are refugees and try and make them feel really welcome in different cities?
Well, I think for me, there's two things. For me, deciding to follow Jesus was like coming home. It was like I'd been searching all my life for something, for a purpose, and for a relationship with God. And I'd tried religion, I tried going to church, I tried praying. And then somebody introduced me and said, actually, you can know Jesus as your friend. So for me, that was coming home. And I thought, well, if you love someone, you're going to have a heart for the things they have a heart for. And I started to realize, actually, God loved people who were outsiders, oppressed, the poor. So I thought, well, maybe those are the kind of things that we should be doing as Christians. But it can sound a bit like, that's aren't you great? It's a great thing to help refugees. But actually, for us, it's been a journey of absolute blessing to have friends. The other night we had 3 Kurdish guys round for a meal. We had such a fun evening. So it's massively given to us and our family to know refugees from all around the world. And I think the experience for us, I don't know if you've ever been a foreigner in another country. We spent 2 years in Estonia. I was pregnant, having our first baby, didn't really speak the language, in a foreign hospital. And the welcome that we received from our Estonian friends and the love of God that we experienced through them was transformational. So as we came back, we thought, now we know what it feels like to be a foreigner and not speak the language. So it was an obvious thing to do, just to welcome people who are arriving in our city. But I think in our own resources, we can run out, can't we? But actually, it's God's love that fills our hearts. It's not our own love. We can get tired and run out of love. But actually, God keeps filling us, and then we have love to share with others. There's a lot to go around.
Amazing. And then I think that became a ministry that helped churches across the UK reach out to refugees in cities and towns. I think over 600 churches across the UK.
Wow, yeah, well, we started in our city and we started taking boxes, welcome boxes. We developed it and we helped train people in how to welcome refugees. So over a number of years, we welcomed, a few thousand refugees into our city. We thought, well, if we can do that, then there are other churches around the country that might want to do that. So we started a charity called Welcome Churches, and we trained people how to welcome refugees. And it's just been, the last year has been amazing to see churches, not just churches, all sorts of people welcoming refugees, the Afghans who have come and fled the war there. People are not refugees, but people have arrived from Hong Kong to resettle here. We've been able to welcome them as well. And it's been great to see the church stepping up and doing that. It's been wonderful.
And it's so important now, obviously, with people who are coming from Afghanistan and Hong Kong and Ukraine. I just wonder, you said when you came to know Jesus, it was like coming home. And what was it that kind of persuaded you or encouraged you to place your trust in Jesus?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the fact that I realised God loved me unconditionally, I thought I'd always I would have to work to earn God's love. And when somebody told me it's a free gift, it's God's grace, he forgives you, it doesn't matter what you've done in your life, he welcomes you. That's like, really? Will he really do that for me? So yeah, at the age of 17 at a rock festival, I decided to follow Jesus and totally transform my life. And I suppose my purpose in life. And at the time, my family said, it's one of those fads that's going to pass. Well, it's kind of still a fad, and it's 30 years on. So,
17 years old, and it's not something you'd grown up with, but you just encountered Jesus,
just encountered Jesus. I saw it in the people around me. I don't know how many of you have got friends in the CU, and ordinary people, but who seem to know God and have a real relationship with him, which is what really struck me. They prayed, they talked about God as a friend. I thought, I've never experienced that when, even if I'd been to church, I hadn't experienced that kind of relationship with God.
And you said your family said it would be a fad, and it's, as fads go, it's been quite a long fad.
It's been a fairly long fad. And it's been just a brilliant adventure. I mean, for me, following Jesus, I never quite know what's going to happen in the next year. It's taken us to places like Iraq and meeting wonderful people from different countries. So I'm kind of excited to see what the next few years will hold and what God would have, because I think if we're available to go, then he can take us all sorts of places, because his heart is for the whole world, for the nations. And if we can follow him, then we get to do that. We get to share his love with people from many nations.
Amazing. And what would you say if there's someone here and they're like, well, all this chat about Jesus, what's so amazing about Jesus? Why does everyone keep talking about Jesus? What for you is amazing about Jesus?
I think one thing that's amazing about Jesus is he's not religious. He knows us completely, and yet he still loves us. And whatever messes in our lives, whatever suffering, we were talking about suffering today, we go through, he is able to take our life and turn it around and use it, to make something really amazing, more than we could ever imagine. So for me, a relationship with Jesus has been walking in that adventure, trying to listen to him, trying to follow him. But Jesus said, "I've come to give you life in all its fullness." And when I left Durham, I thought, "Oh no, what is the rest of my life going to be about?" I can honestly say it's been full. It's been fun. It's not always been easy. There's been tough times, but he has just walked through life with me and given me a purpose and given me a reason that's beyond just living or making money or having a nice family, but it's about being involved with changing the world, I suppose, even in a small way.
Amazing, amazing. Can we thank Karina?